Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining From Signal to Sale, how AI turns marketing data into sales results. I can tell you if the backstage is any indicator, we're in for a fun conversation today. It's already spirited back there. We're going to give everyone just a minute or two to join, and then we'll all jump on stage and get today's event started. In the meantime, drop any questions. Let us know where you're joining us from in the chat, and we'll talk soon. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining From Signal to Sale, how AI turns marketing data into sales results. This is going to be a lively conversation today, but I'm also very excited because it's going to be a very tactical conversation. We've done a lot of webinars at Audience Plus, formerly known as The Juice, and a lot of times there's fireside chat, kind of back and forth, but we've got some real life kind of demos and examples of how these teams and these experts are using AI to turn AI data into sales results. This is Jonathan. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Audience Plus, where we help B2B brands distribute their content and drive demand with their content and create owned media properties. Before we jump into the conversation today and before I introduce our speakers, I'm just going to run through the agenda and some housekeeping here. We'll do introductions from all of our speakers here, and then we're going to get into what are buying signals and intent data, how you can turn that into action, which is where we'll actually get our hands on with some examples from our speakers and experts. And then we'll talk about what success looks like, and of course, open it up for questions at the end. A few housekeeping items. We are recording. The recording will be made available to all of you, as well as those of us that couldn't join us today. If you have any questions, curiosities, or comments throughout the course of today's conversation, insert those in the chat on the right or insert questions in the Q&A section. We'll be monitoring both, and we will answer those at the end, or if it makes sense within the conversation, we'll do that as well. That's enough from me. I'm going to let each of our speakers introduce themselves. Ben, you want to bat lead off for us?
Yeah. Yeah, let's do it. So, hey, everybody. My name is Ben Marullo. I'm a product marketing manager at Salesforce. I've been in MarTech and sales technology for my entire career. I started off on the BDR, SDR side at some smaller organizations and then moved into product marketing. My first PMM role was at ZoomInfo. And then I did a little sprint as a consultant for a company called Fluvio, helping a lot of smaller companies start product marketing. And now I'm at Salesforce, specializing on marketing cloud. So I've seen it from both sides, on both the sales side and the marketing side. And so I'm really excited to chat with you all today about my perspective on using data to help both of those teams be successful.
Nadia.
Hey everyone, I'm Nadia Davis. I lead marketing at Caliber Mind. Caliber Mind, you might know us. We are the multi-touch attribution and go-to-market intelligence platform. And I came to Caliber Mind just 2 months ago, but previously I was on the client side of Caliber Mind. And after my life changed when it comes to the very data that Ben is talking about, I became convinced and converted and said, I absolutely want to spread the word and help others change their marketing work lives for the better. And today's conversation is super relevant to me because I've been in marketing my entire career, so going on 17 years. And I've always thought about myself as sales best friend. Not because I throw things over the fence and say, go fetch, but because it's very much a collaborative effort. So the insights that go from marketing to sales and how AI enhances those, that's a super relevant topic for me. So super happy to be here.
John, bring us home on the intros.
There we go. I'm the sales guy of the crew here. John Barrows, CEO of JB Sales. I've been training now for a while, but been in sales my entire life with a marketing background. Trained companies like Salesforce.com. I think I trained every single rep at Salesforce between the years 2010 to 2018 on that fun ride. So it was cool. But same thing, Amazon, Google, Okta, Box, Dropbox, all those companies, training them, but also selling every day. So I sell every single day. I do all my own prospecting, do all my own negotiations. I am the sales and marketing person here at my company because there's only two of us, but I work with a lot of companies, so I see what's working and what's not, and I'm trying to figure out the AI stuff just like everybody else.
Well, John, I appreciate in the backstage before this, you kind of mentioned none of us are experts on this. It's all so new that, maybe we're trying to be out in front or leading the way, but none of us are experts on that. So I kind of appreciate that perspective as we jump into today's conversation. So let's do that. Let's start right at the top. I think buying signals, intent data has become commonplace for a lot of B2B businesses. So I don't want to spend too much time on this topic, but let's just kind of cover the basics here before we dig into how people are using these. Nadia, you want to give us an example of some buying signals and intent data that your business is using at CaliberMind?
Absolutely. I think everybody's familiar with the grandfather of intent data, Bombora, right? And that's how it all started for a lot of people. That was the big name 7, 8, 9 years ago when IBM platforms kind of made their entry onto the stage. And the interesting thing for me is that the category has become so huge that it's really difficult to extract anything meaningful out of just that layer of intent data. To give an example, I remember when I was, almost a decade ago, was working with Terminus and we were using Bombora data. There were about 6,000 line items on the Excel spreadsheet or CSV spreadsheet for topics that you could pick that were relevant to you. Today, the same spreadsheet is over 17,000 line items long. So think about like how bloated this whole world of intent data has become. And I think there are so many different ways to look at intent data, whether it comes from G2, whether it comes from Bombora, whether it comes from something else, first-party data, very much intent data, signals from multiple places within the industry that different business players bring home and make a note in Salesforce about. That's intent data. So I think Mason Cosby, Scrappy ABM, he had a good phrase that he coined, stack the signals. That's the way I think about intent data. You got to stack it and use it as a collection of things as opposed to one and only, and that's your silver bullet, because people tried to make it a silver bullet, didn't work.
Speaking of stacking intent signals, John, I'm going to kind of throw this over the fence at you. There is a lot of different places people can get intent signals, buying signals, intent data. Are we at a breaking point where it's almost like we're overwhelmed by too much intent data and there's almost too much noise to find the signal?
Yes, and I think we are overwhelmed in general. I think that what's and we've also evolved with intent data, right? And let me be really clear here. I personally don't think intent data is somebody downloading a white paper. I just don't. Just because somebody downloaded the white paper doesn't mean that I'm interested in your product. It means I'm interested in that white paper. So don't you dare send me an email. Oh, so you downloaded the white paper. I'd like to talk to you about your 2026 priorities and how we can help achieve your goals. Like, shut up. Like, that is not, that's like 1985 all over again, right? You want to pick up the list of names and start making some cold calls, have fun with that too. So I think intent data is real intent. Like the 5% that we all talk about that are in market, that with the other 95% not being in market, that 5%, those people are searching for and looking for our solutions. And so when they search this or that or whatever, now that's intent because they're showing actual interest in a solution, not just a white paper. So first of all, on that level. Second of all, I don't think, yes, we're inundated, but I think the tools are getting so good that they can consolidate those and give us exactly which ones matter. What we're sorely lacking right now is the business acumen ability to know what those intent signals are, why they matter. Or how I can now use that intent outside of just saying, I saw you downloaded this and I'd like to talk to you about it because we're the greatest. The problem is we have skipped over all this wonderful tech that we have and all these resources that we're giving to these poor SDRs who are coming out of college. We're not giving them actual business acumen to have a conversation about why that intent data matters. Like, who cares that somebody just did that? Well, if they did that and they're in this role and they're in this company and the industry is doing these things, that means there's probably these type of things happening. So let me teach the rep that and then allow them to take, that and create a message around it. Otherwise, what's the point of having reps? And let's just automate all of it, intent date the hell out of it, personalize it with AI and say, hey, this is an AI personalized message. Why do I need a sales rep to this?
So good. I think we're going to get some of those lessons today. And I think you're exactly right. It kind of feels like there's this expanding amount of data and then contracting amount of like plays that we're all running with it. And we kind of oscillate between too much data and then like trying to oversimplify it. And I think you're right. There's a lot of context and intellect that has to be applied to it all. Mm-hmm. Ben, as you think about this from a product marketing perspective, how do you cut through this noise and help your customers understand what intent data can mean to their business?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of going off of what John was mentioning, right? It's like, when we think about just how much data exists in the world today, it is overwhelming, right? And a lot of it does feel like noise. Like, okay, what's the relation between somebody downloading a white paper and actually like wanting to purchase my product, and how do you kind of read between the lines there? Like that's difficult. What I see is AI really kind of being the solution there. So like, let's think about like, what does AI do really well? Well, basically it takes tons of information and it's able to give us an output, right? To better understand more information than a human could feasibly process, right? Like that's what AI is basically doing. So from the product marketing perspective, when we're talking to customers about the different tools and abilities that we have in our solutions to help you understand your data, but then more importantly, action on it. We're basically describing how incredible AI is for being able to take in all of that data and then help you as a salesperson or you as the marketing person truly understand what matters and what doesn't matter, and then be able to automate a lot of that type of interaction and be able to surface signals based off of that data, because the data doesn't really matter so much. It's more about what are you going to do with it, right? Like how are you going to action it? And that comes down to actually understanding buying signals, right? And that's what it's able to do so well. And then when you're actually thinking about building your campaigns and actually having those sales conversations, that's where the human side comes in. And that human side is now more empowered by the intelligence that's driven through AI, recognizing patterns in data, and then being able to give you that assistance that you need. So from the product marketing perspective, we're really looking at what is the actual business outcomes. And I'll talk about this in a minute, but to me, it's all about being able to personalize your outreach so that you're connecting with your customers better and truly building authentic customer relationships. That's what that surplus of data will end up giving you.
Love that, Ben. You mentioned it. You gave yourself the alley. You're going to give yourself the oop here. So we're going to kind of turn it over to each of these speakers to actually give real world use cases on how they're using AI to turn this data into results. So Ben, I'm going to pass it over to you and let you share a few examples from Salesforce world.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So let's kind of go back for a minute and just start by thinking about really how we got here. And we were kind of just mentioning this, right? But the fact of the matter is that companies are just simply using more data than ever before to understand their customers, right? And this is a great thing, right? It means that we have more ability to truly understand buying behavior. And this is tracking with the trends that we've seen over the last decade. So if you think about the 2010s that you can see on this diagram here, marketers only really relied on what was the holy trinity of data sources. It was marketing data, it was sales data, and it was service data. But over the last few years, especially post-pandemic, the number of channels that marketers are using and that customers are using has really exploded. And so that's why you're seeing a lot more data. So now companies are going to be looking at things like digital advertising data, ERP data, transactional data, accounting data, really you name it. And we're needing to use all of that to get that full view of the customer. So you want to go to the next slide. So what does it actually mean to action on this data? Well, in today's world, going back to what I was just saying, it really is the ability to get extremely, extremely personalized with your customer outreach. And this is no longer a nice to have, right? Customers are actually expecting personalized outreach, and customers' expectations for that personalized outreach are just continuing to rise every single year. But for a lot of marketing and sales professionals, personalization is just really difficult to do, and it's very difficult to do at scale. So just to give you some stats here, we conduct a lot of research here at Salesforce to help us understand how the industry is moving. And we have a State of Connected Customer report that reports 73% of customers are expecting better personalization as technology improves. Yet we're only seeing about 32% of marketers satisfied with how they're actually able to use all of this amazing data to create those highly relevant and highly personalized experiences. Okay, I figured out how to change slides. So today, in order to meet those customer expectations, what you need to do is be able to connect and unlock your data across teams. So it's not enough that your marketing team is able to take all of that data and learn how to action on it. It's that your revenue team, so think about marketing, sales, service, and your commerce teams, right, are able to leverage that same data set to truly understand your customer. And that's really where we're seeing so much benefit. Now, not doing this not only helps create a better and more connected customer experience, but really it's also unlocking the innovation that's required to make those experiences so personalized. So let me give you some examples, right? Things like using generative AI to build out email content, or predictive AI, so that you're making sure that when you send your marketing messages in your campaigns, they're always going to land at the time that the customer who's receiving it is most likely to open it, right? Or being able to understand the propensity of certain customers to buy your product or service through things like scoring and grading, which I'll touch on in a second. So all of these are just the tangible ways that we're able to leverage that really large data set with AI to bring personalization to your customers, so that your customers don't feel like another number that's being handed off from department to department. And also, having all that data is going to help you understand how your outreach is actually impacting the bottom line, which will then help you determine really which customer segments that you should be spending your time on. So it's like you have this feedback loop that you're able to continually monitor and then optimize your marketing and your sales processes. So I wanted to just give a few brief examples of what actioning on data and leveraging AI can truly look like. And again, I mentioned I work on Marketing Cloud here at Salesforce, and I work on a marketing automation tool. So I'm kind of living in this day in and day out. And in our B2B marketing automation tool that we have here at Salesforce, we have what's called AI lead scoring and grading. So essentially, marketing is driving leads, and then they're able to work with sales on the same platform, so that both of those teams can put their heads together. And then again, thinking about strategy, right? How do we take technology and apply critical thinking that a marketing and a sales professional would need to have to identify how to go after those leads? We're able to score and grade those leads, right? So that we know that sales can better prioritize their outreach, and then of course drive better personalization. The second thing that I think is really critical to think about when we're thinking about data and AI is that data, number one, is the number one thing that you need to leverage AI, right? So AI is only going to be as good as the data set that it's leveraging. And then by being able to take all of that data, you can use AI to create personalized multi-touch campaigns that will effectively nurture your leads, which helps build really strong customer relationships. And that's really critical, because sales needs to then take off, to basically pick up where marketing is leaving off through those nurture programs and those customer journeys, to build those relationships even more to help them close deals. Now, and according to our latest State of Sales research, 80% of sales reps today, this is taken in 2024, so this is a recent stat, say that it's easy to get the customer insights that they need to close deals with AI. So we're already seeing this explosion of being able to use data in a way that's really, really relevant for sales to actually push deals across the finish line. The other thing I want to mention is that AI will help you with automating processes, so that you don't need to manually send a lead to sales. Your marketing and your sales teams will work better through automating that transfer of a lead from marketing to sales by reaching certain thresholds and criteria with scoring and grading, right? And you can easily automate customer journeys that loop in sales at the right time. So the second a customer is showing a signal that they're ready to buy, boom, the sales team can reach out. And that's really that power, right, of taking all of that data and being able to feed it into a large language model that's safe, that's trusted for your company, that allows your revenue team to work more efficiently. Okay, last thing, and then I'll stop talking and pass it to the next speaker. I have to mention this because it's so important from the marketing perspective, that you're showing exactly how you're impacting revenue. And that's really important, not just because as marketers, we want to be able to toot our horn and say, look how great of a job we're doing. It's because that's the critical way that you build trust from your sales team and you align your teams together, right? So by implementing reporting and analytics tools that can track key metrics, your marketing team is much better able to understand campaign effectiveness and demonstrate the impact that those marketing efforts actually have on revenue generation, which creates trust for the sales team, right? And that will also enable your marketers to help optimize their strategies and showcase their contributions to the bottom line. So that's a little bit about the way that I think about how you should be able to think about actioning data and kind of bringing those signals to life. But yeah, I will pass it over. I'd love to hear the rest of the team's thoughts.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Nadia is going to show how she's using AI and her team at Caliber Mind. Ben, I really appreciate your insights there. I used to manage SDR teams that were on a broader marketing team, and admittedly, like I really like the SDR function. I know like some people, it makes for great content to kind of shit on the SDR function, but
Yeah.
we've started using some AI for outbound, but based on intent signals and data from different sources. Admittedly, I was a little bit bashful about that because I was like, there's no way this is going to work. It's going to sound generic, but we were getting the right signals and we were doing the right personalization. And that's been working great for us as a small business. I think that was one of the cool use cases you highlighted there. I'm thrilled to hear what Nadia has to say. I was fortunate enough to get to see Nadia's presentation at B2B MX earlier this year, and then I found her at the event. And I said, "You're coming on a virtual event with us." So Nadia, show us how you and the team at Caliber Mind are using AI to drive better alignment across the team.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan, for the accolades. And Ben, you did such a good job teeing this up for me. Look at my T-shirt. It says Data Master. But this is not going to be a deep data conversation because I figured before being a data-minded person, I'm a marketer. I have not changed my stripes going from the client side to the solution provider side because at the end of the day, whatever pain I was living day to day on the client side, it's the same pain that you're living as a marketer forever and always, whether you're on the solution side or the client side. So I wanted to start this, kind of take us back to what the marketing world looks like, where all these insights are coming from, right? The things that we marketers create for our go-to-market strategy for the new year. I'm sure all of you put something together that looks similar to this. And this is our roadmap for the year. We go to our sales kickoff, we flash it on the big screen, and we're saying, guys, look, these are all the things that we're going to run by month. It's going to be amazing. We're going to touch on this, going to touch on that, and all of the leads that will be coming from all of this, all of the accounts that we will activate with all of this. You will have plenty to go prospect. The sales team sits in the audience. They smile. Sometimes, the good ones will nod. The other ones just glossed over. They're waiting for the action item, right? And what their world looks like on the same calendar is something like this. They pay attention to the live events because they know those are real, those are tangible. They will be there. They will know exactly what happened. They will put the golden business cards into their pocket. Probably they didn't do it anymore. Some still do. I mean, they will write the names on the spreadsheet, right? And then the follow-up will happen. But all of this other stuff that we're running, that we're putting so much effort into, herding cats, dealing with, third-party partners, trying to get the abstracts for webinars, teeing up nurtures, creating banner ads, like none of that is visible in the sales world. And the challenge becomes like when we, try to talk about this alignment, I usually think of myself as like sales best friend, because not only am I going to send stuff their way, but I'm going to find them on Slack and I will say, hey, John, did you see this account? I saw all this wonderful stuff that's happening there. Go fetch. So I just oriented them towards whatever needs to take place today, right? But they live in this world of noise, which it's like spandex. It keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's stretchy. There's more tools. There are more things that marketing brings to the table saying, act on this, act on that, right? I kind of caught myself being the chief offender of this in my previous role at Pate, which is a GovTech SaaS company, where we were running ABM plays. And for me to bring all of this data at the person level, account level, I created this framework of 5 places, not 10, not 20, just 5. In my world, it's 5 places. You can look at 5 places in Salesforce. Look at this tab, look at this tab, look over here at the iframe from the ABM platform, look at your email, and then go. Fly, birdie, fly, right? They couldn't do it. It was too much. And then somebody told me why that happens. They said, you're thinking about marketing and sales collaboration wrong. Marketing is like sociologists. We look at the entire market, we collect all the trends, we deal with big data, messy data. Sometimes this data doesn't even fit together, but we kind of somehow survive it, right? But sales, they're psychologists. They don't care about the trend in the market. They just need that one-on-one. Who do I need to go talk to? What is that one patient with a problem that I need to solve for? And that's a totally different view of the world. So all of this that I'm showing you on this slide, it may fly for marketing because more is more is better. You have all this data everywhere. Look how well we're doing our jobs, right? But for the sales team, it doesn't really move the needle. And to Ben's point, AI can solve many big data aggregation, processing, insight extraction problems, but it will not be able to give you good output if that data does not come together in a way where it fits, where it's all modeled, where it's all unified, and you are looking at an even playing field, like in that business stats 101 class, right? You run this simplistic regression analysis, and if in your data set you got nulls or you have things that are formatted wrong or don't belong, it's going to spit out the output that will render your model incomplete or useless, or it's not going to work. Same here. If you have data silos, and I put some stats from a research from Scott Brinker from Martech, 66% of marketers early January of this year cited that they are challenged with integrations from all of the marketing tools. Data silos are real. You got stuff here, 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 and you're trying to pull it all together and it never matches. It's all different, right? Too much data, few insights. Like we're living in the world of numbers, but what is actionable? It's so hard to tell. And I feel like this fatigue of constantly having to process stuff in your head, like you're running the solar power calculator, human calculator in your head, right? Trying to say, do this first, do this second. You end up just getting so burnt out and fatigued that you just don't take any action at all. And I feel like a lot of sales teams are in this boat because poverty of time is real. Like you can only do so many things during your day, right? And what matters is, and I saw that being a client of Caliber Mind, is what happens when you take all of those insights from the 5 places that I told my sales team to go and fetch from, right? When you remove the noise, you remove the things that really don't matter and don't move the boat for the sales team, you can clean this at scale and you only deliver insights that matter to them, whether it's specific program behavior, webinar attendance, certain types of webinar, certain types of email engagement, whatever those might be. And it's never one size fits all. It's never like, here's my black box for you, company A, to fit all of your data and all of your business processes into, and I'm going to give you insights, right? It's different for every company, but being able to customize all of that, that's the value that I saw being on the client side of Caliber Mind. And the cool thing within our tool, like how we use AI, right? And I use it in my daily life as a marketer. Once this data is collected, aggregated, modeled, unified, now the sky's the limit of what you can do with it. Because now I can ask questions like, what questions can I ask of this data? So imagine this mountain of data that you're sitting on, and now you can go to AI, and in our case, we run Gemini under the hood, right? What questions can I ask of my data? And it will tell you, this is what you can ask, which campaigns are performing the best, or you can ask which accounts are engaging the most, or what segment of the market is the most profitable, what segment has a higher CAC. Like the sky's the limit, but it's stimulating that ideation that we can extract from AI. Or on the sales side, what it could also do by pooling all of this data from multiple places, again, cleaning and standardizing and delivering insights to the sales team. Who are the people within the buying group, within this specific account? Or show me accounts that are engaging the most. And I know, the ABM platform's kind of taught all of us, like, these are the accounts that are surging, But are they surging because there was a lot of BDR activity? Are they surging because there's a lot of campaign activity in Salesforce that your ABM platform could not see? Are they surging because there are a bunch of dinners that people from this account attended all over the country and it lives somewhere in a custom object in Salesforce? So the sky's the limit what those unique cases might be. But once you bring all of this together truly in one place, you can say, this is a hot account. And oh, wait, click the button and it will tell you who the most engaged people are within this account. Whether you want to give your MQLs to your sales team to start multi-threading, or maybe you're disillusioned with MQLs, maybe it's just ABM and nothing else. You got your 6QA, totally fine. These are still the people in this account that have engaged, and this is how they engaged. You're showing them the buyer's journey that now you can give to the sales team and they can act on it. So remember again, this the sociologist and psychologist metaphor, right? So you're the sociologist, you aggregated all the data, you gave your sales team actionable insights, and here's a screenshot from what it might look like, right? These are all the people within our universe of contacts within this account that engaged with your stuff. This is what they did. So go fetch them. Now you can have an informed conversation. Now you can come to the table for that last mile that I'm sure John will talk about, human touch to otherwise, very digital world where you can start a conversation on something meaningful. And ultimately, in my mind, once you solve for the data, like it's the beginning and the end of many things. And you can solve it on your own if you have plenty of time, if you're like the data science connoisseur, geek, and just wonderful data science person, or you can go the tool route, right? The tool that has the data modeling capabilities to help you with it and the team that will do that for you, right? Then you can prioritize clearer. Then you can give sales clarity and a very easy to understand picture of what to do next. You can serve the sales team on their terms. You don't have to invite them to a new platform. You don't have to invite them to, yet another Slack channel. It can be all in Salesforce once you decide what that process needs to be, but there's got to be a process. I have to call that out. And you can then allow them to ask the system to tell them more about that specific account from the ocean of data that exists, that has been modeled and cleansed. So you can get in, or you can extract insights that really matter. So that's my AI use case. That I was on the client side doing it. I'm on the solution provider side still doing it. And I feel there's power in it once you understand the table stakes of getting your data under control.
Oh, Jonathan, I think you're mute.
Sorry about that. As host, I was saying it's my job to A, not be on mute, but B, also reiterate the obvious things out loud. But Nadia, I just love that last point of good data is good results. I think no matter the AI you're using or the process you're using, if it's garbage in, it's garbage out, right? But I think there's so much foundational that has to be done to make sure that's not the case at each business. So speaking of that sales alignment, John, really excited to get your opinion here, kind of from all of your sales experience, your training experience, working with marketing experience. Excited to learn from you here.
Yeah, and I think this is an important topic for a lot of reasons, mainly because I'm watching sales reps, if they're not paying attention, become obsolete here. And I think we need marketing's help, and we need the business's help to make sure that we're adding the right value and not doing all those unnecessary activities, right? I mean, the Salesforce report, another part of that, I think it's only about 27% of a sales rep's time is actually spent doing selling activities, engaging with the client. And I think AI is the greatest equalizer to take care of the rest of that, 73% of stuff that they're doing to give us time back to engage. The problem is that with that time back, we need to know how to engage. And I think that's what we've lost here a little bit. Right? We have a whole generation of sales professionals that we've over-engineered the sales process, given way too much tech and not taught the fundamentals, not taught them actually how to have a conversation with all this wonderful data that we have. And that's why you're seeing marketing, like when I put this graphic up here, that's sales in the middle, and the marketing's coming down this way. And personalization at scale is something that I used to roll my eyes at because I'm like, oh, come on, that's an oxymoron, personalization at scale, right? With these cadence tools and this joke, just because you change the name and title and, of somebody doesn't mean your email's personalized, right? But now it's getting to the point where it is, right? I mean, this stuff is spot on. I mean, it's still not there perfect yet, but I think as long as I understand that this thing's, an AI tool is researching and sending me relevant information and not pretending to be human, I got no problems with it. I look back at why do we, well, if we think of spam for a second here, why do we hate spam, right? Well, it's because most of it's irrelevant, right? I don't want it in my inbox. It's totally irrelevant. But why do I like Instagram? Well, I've trained this algorithm. Well, I'll take that back. This algorithm's trained me so that now every single thing that shows up in my feed is something I want. You know what I mean? Yep. I mean, there's crap. Instagram has me so pinned. The amount of crap I buy off of Instagram is ridiculous. Okay. And it's just some of the dumbest stuff too, but I want it. So you can't tell me that in a few years, not even, that there's enough information about you and me and everybody else out there on the internet where these AI tools are going to be able to scrape that intel, understand who we are, exactly where we are, when we need it, and flood our inboxes with super hyper personalized relevant emails. That's already going to happen. So where does that leave the sales professional, right? And I think that's where I lean into how we can work together on this to align sales and marketing with stuff like intent, with AI and everything else, but lean in on the human factor here, because that stat's a little scary for me right there, and it's a little bit at the bottom, and it's also an old stat. It's 2022 from Gartner, and they averaged out Gen Xers, Boomers, and Millennials, and these are B2B buyers of complex sales solutions, and they found that 43% of clients want a rep-free experience. They don't want us involved. They don't want the sales rep involved. And that's not getting any, the reason I leave it at 2022 is because it's not getting any better. With Gen Z coming into the marketplace, they're not going to want to deal with sales reps at all. And it's mainly because sales reps don't bring value to the conversation. We used to bring value to the conversation because we were the gators of that conversation. You couldn't find it anywhere else other than us. But now it's everywhere. And so how do we empower the sales team? Because the danger is that that's the negative stat. The positive side of that stat is that I think it was of the 43% that wanted a rep-free experience, they had a 23% higher regret rate when sales reps weren't involved. So that tells me that there's a ton of value to add to the equation. It's just different than it ever has been before. And so the way I think we can address this with intent and AI and all this other stuff, first of all, back up a little bit. I look at marketing as the what and the sales as the how or the why. I look at marketing as content, whereas sales is context. And I stole this one from Gary Vaynerchuk for those Gary V fans out there. He always talks about, content is king, content is king. He says, fine, if content is king, then context is God. And that got me thinking about sales and marketing. Marketing is content, sales is context. If we as sales professionals are not putting any context around our content, I have no idea. We're no different than marketing, and I have no idea why we're getting paid to do what we do. Blasting out template emails, that's content. Getting an intent signal and sending that templated white paper email, that I don't need a sales rep to do that. Context is taking that ebook that's a 39-page ebook, and before it hits my inbox, telling me why it's relevant to me. Right? Hey, John, here's a quick summary of the key takeaways. And if you look at pages 3, 5, and 7, there's some super tactical things in there. I think you might get some value. This webinar, here's something that everybody can do with this webinar. Context, content. If you send me a webinar, hey, John, there was a great webinar on intent data. Check it out. It's an hour long. Like, you out of your mind? The likelihood of me watching that is not high. But if you're like, hey, John, we just did a killer intent data webinar. If you start listening to this webinar around minute 15:22 and go from minute 15:22 to minute 26:13, there's some super tactical things in there I think you might get some value out of. Good luck, right? Content, context, right? So that's where I think we need to land. And that's why I think we need to turn all of our sales all of our orgs, quite frankly, into, and it doesn't look like I'm stop sharing. Let me see this, share. It won't let me share the next, there it is. Oops, share. Into a sales lab. I really think that if we want to survive as groups here, as organizations in this evolving world that is moving so fast that none of us can pretend to be the experts at it at all, or pretend to know what's going on around the corner. I mean, people talk about, my 12, 20-month plan and, 2 years out. Are you out of your mind? Can any one of you on this call genuinely look at me and tell me what's going to happen next month? Forget about next year. So stop it. Agility is, there you go. There's your 8 ball. I saw that, Natty. I was going to bring that up. Like, yeah, you might as well, right? Because it's better than most. So because of that, we have to be agile and we have to leverage all components of the business, which is why I'm going to share with you. This is something I train on. And if you want to take a screenshot of this is my little messaging formula. And I know it's the alignment between sales and marketing that works because I do it with my clients. And here it is, because the biggest challenge that every company has, I don't care who you are, what your background is, what you sell, is coming up with sales ready messaging. How do you create a message that a sales rep can put in one scroll on an iPhone or in 10 to 15 seconds on a call when somebody says what? And my background's marketing. I love marketing, but I'm sorry, marketing, you have no idea how to create sales ready messaging. You just don't. You come up with these 3 pages longs with a bunch of bullet points and all this crap about synergy and transparency and all that fun stuff that nobody cares about. And when I try to read it, I throw up all over myself, which is why I never use your information. Or we have an email that's 5 pages long that if I send it, it takes 15 scrolls on my iPhone. I'm not going to use that. So this is what I've come up with to align sales and marketing and come up with messaging that we can test and use, and we can align it with intent and trigger-based information. So it starts with like persona. So, CIOs in healthcare. whose main priority is, or who just did this, whatever the trigger event or the priority is. Leverage now what component of your solution aligns with that, and then what's the benefit if they applied it. So my messaging goes something to the effect of, hey, VPs of sales in the SaaS industry whose main priority is keeping their reps motivated and engaged now that they're working from home, leverage our live remote training to infuse some energy in the team, give them some tools and tactics that we can, right? And that's my message. And we can do this. And here's how I recommend it. And everybody, if you want to record this, write this down. Once a week, once a month. Let's make it easy. Once a month. Pick a new persona in a new industry. So CIOs, healthcare, I don't care. Block 2 hours on your call first Monday of every month for sales, marketing, product, engineering, all to come to, and customer success, all to come together. Okay. Everybody sit down, break up into groups. And now we're going to pick a persona, CIOs in healthcare. Everybody uses some of these ChatGPT tools that I'm about to share with you here to like research what do these people care about, right? So they're learning about what CIOs in healthcare care about. It's not just marketing stuffing it down our throat. It's us like, hey, let's double check this marketing information. Let's see what else is out there. What do these people care about today? Because some of these GPTs are bananas as far as the information that they can give you. I have a buyer persona GPT that we created. It's stupid with the amount of stuff that it tells you. So now we're all learning about this persona. So then you do that for 30 minutes. Then you have a CIO from healthcare from an existing account come in and do a webinar with the team and have the team ask that CIO in healthcare, what do they care about? You know, now they're asking contextualized questions to the person that they're about to kick off a sequence to. Then after that 30 minutes, everybody creates messaging using the messaging formula and maps out a 7 to 10 touch sequence, okay? Now we break up into teams. So we got, call it 10 touches in a sequence. And they all go to CIOs in healthcare. So team 1, you're going to send out 100 sequences with that, and it's only going to be email. Team 2, you're going to do the exact same thing, but we're going to make calls, touch 1, 5, and 8. Team 3, we're going to do videos, touch 2 and 7. And team 4, we're going to do heavy personalization. So you're testing one variable per sequence. And at the end, you just look at the data and see what worked and what didn't work. And you do this once a month, every single month. Everybody gets together. We all learn together. We all build our business acumen, and then we all execute with it. And if you wanted to get even funkier with it, on Fridays, you do a lunch and learn with your team and you pick a topic. So this is kind of like, like you know how engineers have hackathons and, they pick something and they nerd out on it for a little while. I think we should do the same thing in sales. Pick any aspect of the sales process. I don't care what it is. 1 hour, everybody get together on Friday, lunch and learn, pick it and figure out whoever can find a better solution of how to do this easier, better, faster, cheaper, whatever it is with AI wins the day. And then we all work together, senior reps, junior reps work together, engineers come together, that type of thing. And we figure out solutions for this stuff and we keep iterating. And then whatever we find that works, we then apply the next week and see if it actually does make a difference. And then we just keep every week. We're like, all right, what else? What else? What else? What else? This way, marketing can help educate us. We can learn about the stuff like intent data and those type of things that actually matter and why they matter and what components of our solution actually align with it and who cares. And we can execute with it to see immediately whether it's driving results. So there's my story and I'm sticking to it.
It's a good story, John. I appreciate it. Very tactical, which is awesome. All of you, thank you for sharing kind of behind the scenes there. And so we've got about 15 minutes here. We're going to let everyone go a little bit before the end of the hour. Look, we're going to spend the rest of this time in kind of Q&A, talking about what success looks like. So if you have questions here, feel free to insert those. But that last topic we kind of hit on, and a few of you were mentioning it in the chat as well, around alignment. So my question here is, we read the hot takes on LinkedIn, the MQLs are dead. Everything should be measured by pipeline. Everything should be measured by revenue. Like, how important is it that sales and marketing are measured by the same thing? Should they be measured by the same thing? And what is the KPI that best aligns sales and marketing in your all's opinions?
I can take this one. I can get us started. In my previous role, I sat on the revenue marketing and marketing operations team. Let me tell you, that seat is hot. And it's hot at all times because the CMO needs numbers to report out to the board, to the senior leadership. The sales leadership wants to make sure that marketing is not double counting. And when marketing says, we generated $100 million in pipeline, the sales says, wait a minute, we're showing only 50. What are you double? Like, it's a real thing, right? I feel like speaking in the same units of measure is important. So you have all the talking heads on LinkedIn telling you like, it's not this, it's that, but wait, tomorrow it's going to be something else, right? But if you have your board, your seasoned people, your executives, the ones that have been around the block, measuring and perceiving marketing through a lens of the business unit measured in dollars. Why would you go there and tell them that we're seeing 20% lift, we're seeing 30% engagement spike? It's all good and great, bless your heart. I mean, I'm in Atlanta, I can say that. Like, it's all good and great, but how does that help you for them to take you seriously? I think it's the trust issue, it's credibility issue. It's them treating marketing like you have a seat at the table because you can elevate yourself to the unit of conversation that everybody else in the room understands. The challenge is still there. Sales and finance and accounting, they all have really good data. It's discrete data. It's black or white. It's dollar sign or no dollar sign. It's, or actually it's black and red in this case. But marketing, we just have to figure out what it is that we need to measure, and whatever it is that you want to stick with, better that unit of measure aligned with the rest of the business.
Yeah, I agree. And just to chime in on that too, I think that in the marketing world, there's nothing wrong with measuring engagement. All of that is relevant to measure. Like we should be looking at that. That's our job as marketers. It's more data, right? That we can collect, that we can better understand our customers, to build those relationships, to hand off to sales, to make that alignment happen. But when we're thinking about how we're actually reporting, right, and aligning teams and looking at metrics, absolutely we should be speaking the same language, right? So I think the misconception would be, well, we shouldn't care about the marketing stats. We should care about all that data. It's just that when we're thinking about aligning with sales, we need to be thinking about how we're actually driving pipeline and how we're driving the bottom line. The other thing is I've seen a lot of marketing teams that are aligned to product adoption that aren't as aligned to actual revenue. And I think that could work if you're in a very PLG driven company. Obviously Salesforce is not that, right? Like our teams are measured to pipe when it comes to marketing. So I think it can depend on what your business is really focused on and what you're focused on nurturing and really building, but ultimately being on the same page about that. And in 90% of situations, in my opinion, measuring to revenue generated and closed deals is going to be the best way to actually think about marketing impact. And that's kind of why I mentioned, with a marketing automation tool, you're able to see that really important reporting so that you can justify your seat at the revenue table. And that's what we always talk about here at Salesforce, and why we're such a big proponent on using marketing and sales software on the same platform.
Yeah, all agreed. I think, getting that revenue number is important. I think that the challenge is we have to separate a couple of things, because there's revenue generating marketing activities and there's brand activities from a marketing standpoint. And brand is very, very, very hard. I think CEOs need to just get used to that. They have to have a bucket of money that they're never going to show an ROI for, because it is impossible to show like the personal branding and those. So if we separate those two chunks out and say we have a brand bucket over here that's just a dollar figure, CEO, suck it up. You're going to have to spend it. You got to trust us on this one because brand matters. And then there's revenue generating activities bucket. That definitely needs to have the alignment there. I will say, if you could solve all of this with you could solve the sales and marketing alignment with one very simple but not easy thing to do, which is you just take away attribution. I know it's impossible because everybody has to get paid, but a really good way to do this, and I know I'm probably going to piss off a lot of people by saying this, I don't think that SDRs and BDRs should be under sales. I think they should all be under marketing, and they should all be salaried positions. I'm sorry. This takes away the stress of the SDR. This takes away the stress of the BDR to hit their number, which they're almost never going to hit in today's environment, quite frankly. This takes away from them being robots to do this all day long and pretend like I'm actually doing my job. And now I don't give a shit if I got to give this kid commission and double comp somebody because they also touched the account too. If we just took the whole SDR, BDR group and rolled them under marketing and created salaries positions that was the real entry to sales, but not like let me see if I like sales. Like, no, you're going to get in here. You're going to learn sales, marketing, customer. You're going to learn all that stuff. And then you can choose if you want to go into sales. You can choose if you want to go into customer success. You can choose if you want to go to marketing. But if we just took away comp and raise the base salary a little bit and had metrics that they have to measure. So, there's going to be activity metrics behind the scenes to make sure you can do your job. But for the first 2 years, you shouldn't be earning commission on anything. You don't know anything at this point, especially in this predictable revenue ridiculous model that we're still in, which I still think is ridiculous. I'm sorry, Salesforce built the whole industry around it. It's a broken model at this point. It's not customer centric. Nobody likes to be handed off 15 times before they actually talk to somebody that knows what they're talking about. So take away commission from SDRs and BDRs who are going to hate me for saying that, roll them up under sales and marketing, and then section out brand and get a bucket and then align on revenue. That's how you can solve it all. It's a lot more complicated than that, but that's the way I would do it.
And John, just a quick point I want to make, because I'm somewhat newer in my career, been in this industry for about 6-ish years. I started off in those roles, right?
Yep.
And that was my number one piece of frustration, is that you can control the what you're putting out there, but you can't always control what's happening in the field, right? And it is very much, I think, a role that should open young people up to different career options, right? And right now at most companies, it's very just, you go straight into an account executive role. And that's why I made the jump, because I realized, I actually like the product marketing. I like the strategy side. So I just, everything you said, I just wanted to say from personal experience, I couldn't resonate more with that.
Yeah. And by the way, we've gotten ourselves into this mess, and unfortunately, I think we have to make some hard decisions as organizations to get ourselves out of this mess. And one of them is to stop comping on every stupid thing from a sales standpoint and pretending
a meeting booked. A meeting booked doesn't necessarily mean anything. It could literally just be you're at the awareness, right? You might not even have the interest. And, you would have people do these lunch and learns. I remember when I was doing it, I'd say, well, can we organize a lunch and learn? They just want to get free lunch. Again, it's that idea that you're not actually understanding, your customers on that deep level. It's the right method, but not necessarily the right, kind of way of moving forward with that process. Yeah, totally.
Well, John, in addition to being a great trainer, you can also apparently see into the future, because the next question we had was, where does the SDR sit in all of this? And I think we've hammered that one home. So last question I'll ask here before we jump on all this. We've talked a lot about team alignment, kind of philosophical alignment behind this. There are a million different technologies that help businesses act on this. How should we as individuals think about sifting through that and the actual resourcing of technology to make this all possible?
Yeah, that's a mind-numbing one. Just because that's why I like what I was mentioned as far as turning your sales org into a sales lab, because that way you can kind of explore all these different new technologies and play around with them, but in a very confined and structured manner, so that it's not just going off the rails and everybody's looking at everything, right? Because I've actually stopped taking AI calls from AI vendors wanting me to show their stuff, because I'm just like, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't. If there's a use case that I can think of that I need, I'll put a post on LinkedIn and get 8 billion people sending me something. But I think it's, you have to have the foundation. I think garbage in, garbage out as far as data. I think the first thing that I would look at is just, the quality of your database, period. So Salesforce, for instance, and doing a cleanup of that before you do anything, if you can, just a straight up purge and then enrich that data with whatever tool you want to use to enrich. I use, there's obviously tools like Clay and a bunch of other stuff out there that you can screw around with. But I would enrich your data so you get it as tight as possible. And then, from the intent signals, pick your poison, whichever ones give you the right type of intent data, right? Because intent is different for all of us. What is real intent for you is going to be real intent for me. And my personas are different than your personas. So there might be better tools that are better suited for certain niche markets than the broad tools that are out there that's kind of giving everybody everything. So it's not easy. It's a waterfall effect of what are our priorities, which tools are out there, and then let's test and test and test and test. But I think if you create your environment where your entire org is part of the process, not just a select 2 or 3 people for your buying committee who are kind of have their own view on it, but you release it to the wild with the sales reps and as one of your lunch and learns on a Friday and say, hey, let's beat the crap out of this and let's see if this actually gives us the information that we're looking for. And then you get their buy-in, because if you get the reps buy-in that, wow, look at this, and you show it to them, well, now they're going to adopt it. Whereas if you come in top down as a leader and say, no, we're going to do this tool and this is how we're going to do it, you're going to get exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get reps nodding their head and saying, yep, sure, no problem, boss. I'll do whatever you actually ask me to do. And then they're going to use it at the bare minimum, right?
Yeah, and just to add on to that real quick, I think the two things that I think about when you're looking at, vendors and tools, I know I'm biased being at Salesforce, but to me, it's data. It's kind of going back to what you're saying, John. It's like you got to get your data together because that's going to be the foundation of everything. So having clean data, being able to unify data across sources, and then scalability, right? I mean, you want to be able to choose a tool that will be able to grow with your business. And obviously that's, what we pride ourselves on here at Salesforce is, we have tools like Data Cloud that can connect your data. And, we're very bullish on this idea that, you should be able to work off of one platform and be, that said, there's other great tools out there. It's not just Salesforce, right? There's so many really amazing smaller companies that are innovating that can integrate onto the Salesforce platform if that's your chosen CRM. So I think it can kind of be a pick your poison of sort of what you want to go with. But that said, I think to just hone in on that data foundation being so critical, being able to connect and unify your data, that's what I think is really, really critical.
Yeah.
Love that. Well, thank you both, Ben, John, for joining us. I'd encourage everybody who's on the virtual event today, go connect with Ben and John on LinkedIn. Always sharing great perspective there. Check out what they are up to. Everybody, thank you for joining today. This has been a really fun, really spirited conversation, a fun balance of tactical and kind of higher level as well. We will be sending out the recording. Be on the lookout for that in your inbox tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Have a
y'all.
good one. Cheers.